If humans were rational, the economy would be predictable. Markets wouldn't crash, people wouldn't buy lottery tickets, and every financial decision would align perfectly with long-term benefit. But humans are not spreadsheets. We are stories, impulses, memories, fears, and hope stitched together. So here's the truth. If you want to understand economics, the real kind, the messy kind, the kind that governs your life, your paycheck, your savings, and your ambition, then don't just study supply and demand. Study the human mind. Because what really drives economic outcomes is not money, it's behavior, emotions, the psychology of fear, risk, joy, and insecurity. Every dollar you've ever spent or saved, every job you've stayed in too long or left too soon, that wasn't about numbers, that was about you. And that's where we began. Welcome back to Spark and Hustle, the podcast for ambitious, emotionally intelligent women and men rewriting the rules of success in life, money, and business. I'm your host, Puneet, and today's episode is one I've been aching to share for a while. This is something that I've been reading posted by Naval Ravikant over and over on Threads because it connects one of my favorite topics, the psychology of decision-making, and my second favorite topic, which is the economy we all live in, whether we understand it or not. So this is my take on what Naval says. If you want to study psychology, you'll understand economics, or if you want to understand economics, study psychology. So bear with me and let's have some fun with this. Let me ask you something. Have you ever regretted a purchase that felt right in the moment? Or stayed in a bad financial situation because leaving would waste what you've already put in, something called sunk cost? Have you ever said, I know better, and then did the exact opposite of what you knew better? Me too. We all have. And the gap between knowing and doing, that's where psychology lives. It's also where most economic decisions are actually made, not on balance sheets, but in brains. So today we're tearing down the myth of rational actor, looking at how your thoughts, biases, habits, and even childhood beliefs shape your economic life. Let's get into it. So first, traditional economic theory tells us that we're rational actors, that we seek to maximize utility. That is, meaning we calculate costs and benefits and make choices that serve our best interest. Sounds good in theory, but that's not how we operate in the real world. Here's what actually happens. We shortcut. We rely on emotions, instincts, patterns, and fears to make decisions, especially under stress. Psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky were among the first to call this out. Their research gave us a rise to the entire field of behavior economics, proving that humans are systemically irrational, not randomly either. We're irrational in predictable ways. How fun. For example, think about how you react to gains versus losses. In one experiment, people were given a choice. Take a guaranteed $50 or a 50-50 chance to win $100 or nothing. Most took the guaranteed $50. Now flip it. People could lose $50 for sure or gamble to lose $100 or nothing. Suddenly, most people gambled, even though the math was identical. This is the loss aversion. We feel the pain of a loss more than the pleasure of a gain. And it affects everything from investment decisions to divorce settlements to the way we negotiate salaries. If traditional economics assumes we are Vulcans, psychology reminds us we are human. Messy, emotional, brilliant, biased humans. How about we break down 5 psychological patterns that quietly govern much of the economy? First is anchoring. Our minds latch onto the first number we see. This plays a big role in salary negotiations. That's why retailers show the original price next to the sale price. The first number sets your expectation, even if it's arbitrary. Second is the endowment effect. Once we own something, we think it's worth more than it is. That's why people overprice their houses or refuse to sell stock that's lost value. Ownership distorts objectivity. The third is herd mentality. Humans take cues from others, especially when uncertain. That's why bubbles form in real estate, stocks, or even crypto. We follow the crowd, even if crowd is wrong. Present bias. We prioritize now over later. That's why we procrastinate, overspend, or skip savings. The future is abstract. The present is emotional. Marketers are best at exploiting this daily. My favorite one is the sunk cost fallacy. We continue investments, time, money, relationships, friendships because of what we've already put in. Rationally, we should evaluate the present value, but psychologically, quitting feels like failure. These aren't flaws, these are features of the human brain, but they shave trillions in spending and investments and policy. Understanding them is power. Marketing is the art of applied psychology. Let's be real. No one needs a $60 water bottle, but if it signals wellness, prestige, or status, we'll buy it. That's identity-based consumption. Businesses know this. That's why advertising taps into our desires, not logic. Why tech companies use gamification to increase engagement. Why default settings on apps or even 401ks influence behavior more than choices do. Consider pricing. The $2.99 trick isn't about saving a penny. It's about anchoring you to the 2 instead of the 3. Or the decoy effect. A mediocre option makes the expensive one seem worth it. Behavioral science is used everywhere, from Uber surge pricing to Amazon Prime free shipping to loyalty programs that keep you locked in. And in finance, entire portfolios are built on emotional reactions to fear, greed, and news cycles. Want to be a better investor? Study your own behavior. Want to increase revenue? Understand what triggers your customer. Psychology is not soft. It is strategic. If you're trying to become financially savvy or build a business, lead a team, or launch a product, traditional economic theories will only get you so far. You need a toolbox that includes cognitive psychology to understand how people form judgments, decision science to dissect why people choose one option over another, behavioral design to ethically guide users or buyers towards better outcomes, social psychology to recognize group influence, conformity, and cultural trends. The best marketers aren't economists, they are psychologists in disguise. The best leaders don't just make strategic decisions, they understand people's motivations, fears, and attention spans. If you know what makes people tick, you'll outperform those who only know spreadsheets. Combine the two and you're unstoppable. Let's bring this one home. This episode isn't about theory, it's about you. Self-awareness is the most underrated economic skill. When you understand your patterns, why you buy things, avoid hard choices, or overcommit, you can interrupt them. Track your spending, notice your triggers, ask yourself, am I buying this from emotion or intention? What fear is driving this choice? Where am I letting comfort override clarity? Because if you want to be wealthy, truly wealthy, you need more than money. You need clarity. And clarity comes from knowing yourself. Master your psychology and you master your economy. Today, I have a few book recommendations. One that I must recommend, if you were to pick one out of the 4 that I'm going to recommend today, that is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's a brilliant dive into 2 systems of your brain, the fast, intuitive one and the slow, analytical one. It explains how you make decisions. More importantly, how we make mistakes. The other 3 bonus reads are Predictability, Irrational by Dan Ariely, Quirky, Readable, and Packed with Fun Experiments, Misbehaving by Richard Thaler, a story of how behavioral economics broke into the mainstream. Nudge by Thaler and Sunstein, a guide to shaping choices for better outcomes without taking away freedom. They're all great. Again, if you were to pick just one, pick Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. If you want power in business, money or leadership, these are essential reads. So next time someone says study economics, smile and say, I study humans too, because markets move on mood, economies rise and fall on trust, and the future, it belongs to those who understand psychology better than the rest. Thanks for listening today. If this episode sparked something in you, share it with a friend, coworker, or your partner. Let's build smarter, softer power together. Until next time, stay bold, stay soft, and keep going.